We Indians can now buy stuff with a digital rupee. Well, it's actually still in pilot stage. Starting yesterday, December 1, 4 banks sent emails to a select group of their customers to download an e-wallet. Once downloaded, customers could transfer money from their savings account into this wallet and then spend this cash to buy from vendors who were given the QR code. Eventually, the system is going to be expanded to more banks and more customers. But how was day one? And will people really want a digital rupee so badly when we can pay each other via UPI? For these and other questions, I have with me bankers from 2 banks who are part of this pilot. Madhivanan, Balakrishnan, the Chief Operating Officer at IDFC First Bank, and Ajay, Rajan, the Senior Group President and Head of Transaction Banking at Yes Bank. Ajay and Madhivanan, thank you very much indeed for joining me. Madhivanan, you go first. Just describe the first day. How many people you all sent letters to? How many people accepted? How many transactions got done? Was it glitch-free?
So, Lata, let me not get into the numbers specifically, but because you rolled it out in a very calibrated manner. Okay. So, at this point of time, since yesterday, we have transactions in hundreds, wherein people have come through the entire onboarding process of downloading a wallet, ability to withdraw money. I'm using the word specifically withdraw as against transfer, because you're withdrawing the money out of your bank account into your app. All that has been reasonably glitch-free. The process did not just involve the customers withdrawing the money, but also doing transactions at a merchant level, doing transfers to peers. So all that has been reasonably okay. We did not expect anything, but like I told you, it's being done in a very calibrated. The numbers are still in there. Hundreds. So we will see as we recruit more and more people into the pilot and equally have more and more merchants coming across amongst all the 4 banks put together. I expect the momentum to grow up. I would also want to highlight one of the big processes which has happened over the last 2 days is the various banks indenting money from RBI, because this is the primary origination of the digital currency. So there is a Bank of India generates those currencies and then the banks have to bring it into their side of the business and then allow the customers to onboard it. So all these processes, touchwood, RBI, NPCI, various banks, the systems have been working reasonably well. So it's been a very, very, very good experience in the first day. Okay.
Now, before I get to Ajay, one doubt I had. You know, I saw that process. In fact, I shot with an IDFC customer. When I saw her phone, the money was coming actually like currency. You had a 5 rupee, a 10 rupee, a 20 rupee, right? So now suppose, of course, she, I think, bought Pani Puri in front of me and she paid 35. So she had 3 10s and a 5. But suppose she had to buy for, say, 2 rupees and she gave 10 rupees. Now, 8 rupees. How will that be returned to her if the vendor doesn't have? Can there be a currency? I don't have the exact change problem.
I mean, imagine this entire transaction happening like you are withdrawing the 10 rupees out of your wallet, handing it over to the Pani wallet, and he giving you return $8.
Yeah.
This is what is getting simulated even in the app. When this lady did the transaction of $10, but the cost was actually 2. What is happening is, first and foremost, the $10 is getting transferred to the wallet of the merchant. So if he already has the change tokens in his wallet, the transaction is very quick. It is happening virtually there. If he doesn't have it, then effectively what is happening is you are pinging back into our, the settlement system, and then we, in turn, do the netting off. And the same transaction, as far as the customer and the merchant is concerned, they don't have to do anything additional. The transaction is done by the banks. So, yeah, it
so
does.
I don't have exact change is not a problem.
Not at all. Not at all. So,
Got it.
While it does load up the system in an overall basis, because instead of 1 transaction, you're ending up doing 2. But the process, as far as the customer is concerned, is very seamless.
Okay. Ajay, what were the numbers at your end? I think Madhivanan has scared you, or you would have given me the numbers. How was it? Did it go in hundreds? Did it go in tens?
Not really, Lata. So I think
was it glitch-free?
Yeah, absolutely. It was, glitch-free. For a project of this scale and size and nature, I think it was very, very well managed. In fact, I would, before I get into anything else, kudos to Reserve Bank of India, for a conceptualized and, it's actually like a newly minted department of Reserve Bank of India, the fintech department, actually working on this and minting a new digital currency itself. I don't think the scale and the gravity of what has been launched as a pilot has yet sunk in, but it is actually, we have a new digital currency in the country, and that's something which has happened in record time, and ahead of any other country in the globe at a population scale as of it.
Yeah, but Ajay, course, was there enough enthuse among the customers? Because it was not that widely publicized. Yesterday we started publicizing it, and maybe today. But even then, it's not the headlines in the newspapers. After all, it happened on G20 day. So, I mean, were people aware? Did they throng and download?
Right. So, Lata, the launch, as you are aware, is on a pilot stage, and it's in a closed user group. So, obviously, the level of people who are aware of this project is limited. But the enthusiasm was very clearly palpable in terms of people who knew, what is getting launched. And of course, now that there are articles coming around, there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of inquiries of people who want to be part of this pilot. In fact, a lot of people who did not have Yes Bank accounts are also reaching out to open accounts so that they can be part of this momentous pilot launch, which has happened in the country. So very, very high excitement levels across both merchants and consumers.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, I very much wanted to be selected, but didn't know whom to approach. In any case, mine is not an Android phone. So I was told that it's not yet applicable to Android phones. I mean, it's applicable only to Android phones, and since mine is not. But Madhivanan, the immediate use case, if I can pay people through UPI and pay each other through UPI, will this be such a hot product?
See, it's the adoption. Even if you look at the evolution of UPI, it started off a bit slowly. We ironed out a lot of those issues, but then it was a classical hockey stick growth rate. And the volumes took up, more and more participants came in, more merchants came into the ecosystem. So all the ingredients, how many people are getting into the distribution stage, how many of them are willing to accept it, how many customers jump into the bandwagon, how do the various UI, UX and the journeys become smoother, all this contribute to all this. So, but I think the big difference that we should be talking about is a UPI was primarily a tool which was enabling customers to access their bank account without an ATM, without a card, just by using the mobile as a link and a UPI handle. Now, it was effectively just facilitating ledger settlement between two banks. So that was the primary process. The fact that it was made popular was also the fact that the cost of doing the transactions when it comes to debiting your own account was virtually nil. From the consumer's perspective, even for the banks, etc., it was making a lot more sense to move the lower currencies. So that's on the overall economics of the UPI and the way it grew. When it comes to the digital currency, you're effectively doing a much bigger thing. You're not transferring money. You're printing money, which is what RBI is doing. It is increasing the liquidity by bringing in a virtual currency onto the plate, which is a fiat currency. Number two, we are actually moving money. I mean, imagine me moving money into an ATM and a customer going and withdrawing the money. That's the classical cash management module. It has a huge amount of logistics which is working in the back end. But when you're talking about E-Rupee, then you're looking at the currency actually getting, it's not a mimic, it is an independent currency which can be transacted between consumers, banks, peer-to-peer. So at this point of time, in the early CUG, we are looking at only 3 or 4 classic use cases. Okay. The ability to withdraw money and keep it with you, make each other payments, that is both of us have wallets, then we can make payments to each other, make payments to the merchants in return for any commodities or goods that we buy, and finally converting the money back from, not I wouldn't use the word converting, putting the money back into the bank account so that you continue. These are the 4 use cases that you're beginning with.
Okay. Well, Ajay, are there any instructions from RBI as to how many people you can send emails? Or can you, after you're satisfied with the first day, you will increasingly send to more and more people?
Yes, as I think Madhi also mentioned earlier, it has been a very calibrated approach, and while of course the numbers will be lower in the initial couple of days, but it is expected to scale up, exponentially over the
You are
next
scaling
couple
up. What I'm asking is, are you scaling up depending on your comfort zone, or is RBI have they given instructions as to how and when you can scale up?
No, it will be largely depending on our comfort zone, and how we see the system performing, or the acceptance happening. So as I said, consumer excitement is very there, and we will definitely keep scaling up the numbers on a daily basis, both on the consumer as well as on the merchant side.
Okay. Madhivanan, do you think this will require some push from the government in the form of, either higher interest? I mean, I don't see how they can do that, but because it is cash, so how do you give interest? Or, paying subsidies through these wallets. I'll tell you why. My maid insists that Didi merko Google Pay hi karo, because she wants to send it to her village. And, it saves her a lot of money. Now, asking her to download the wallet and then transfer will take a little doing. On the other end is her children, they also have to do it. It'll take time. So, is not a push needed from the government, and are you expecting it?
See, first and foremost, I think the objective of the CUG, like I said, was to establish the railroad of how a currency is getting created, how it is moving into the hands of the bank to the consumer, and that's part one. I think the natural use cases, if we have to look at the various global areas, can lie in two scenarios. One, a very high-end scenario, which involves large corporates, merchant to merchant, where the values can be very large, which will always be where you're looking at the efficiency process, not necessarily the amount of time required, the amount of money required to carry out these settlements. So the settlements risk are virtually becoming non-existent in this business. So that's one use case. But let's come to the lower end of the use case, which is the low tier, the example that you spoke about, transferring money to your maid through a UPI process. What does it necessitate? She has to, when she is transferring the money back to somebody in her village, even that person needs to have a bank account.
Yeah.
So you're effectively doing a ledger adjustment from here to there. When it comes to the e-currency, a scenario, I'm just painting a scenario of what could happen as use cases when it comes to the same segment from a financial inclusion perspective is, the day we delink the, today the CUG that is happening is called the custodial CUG, which is the money, while it is with the phone of the end consumer, the banks still have full visibility to that particular transaction. Because that's how we have started off it. One of the explorations that will happen as we go forward, which is under various areas of discussion and will need to do a lot more policy unlocks, is what we call the mobile held model, wherein the money actually technically moves away from the bank's control into your phone or into the digital wallet. So when this happens, imagine a scenario where your maid is still able to do this transfer to, let's say, her mother in her village. She, in turn, can use the money in the traditional way, which is not non-traditional, which is the digital way, or she can go to the nearest ATM and withdraw that in the physical cash so that that acceptance. Can you imagine the kind of possibilities that this throws?
That is true. That is
remote
true.
locations and whatnot.
If you don't have a bank account and still you can have that wallet of money, that will be even bigger. I take your point. Out of time, but we've just scratched the surface. I will call all of you back for more discussions on how the digital rupee will become a part of our lives. Wrap up at Bazaar. Chartbusters up next.